Hi, Stu H on the Facebook group Hardboil on the forums. So after all the sort of talking and chatting, today's the day. Today's first brew on the BrewDevil 50L. Got the HLTs heating up. That's going to be for the sparging at the mash out temperature at 75.6, so that's kind of working its way up now. It's about 65 degrees. It's coming up a bit slower than the main unit. So I put the main unit into manual and set it to 69 degrees, so that when I add my grain, which is at about 15 degrees, I should flatten out around 64 degrees. There's a little bit of flexibility because I've got a 1 minute step in there, so it'll have a little bit of an opportunity to sort of get that up to temperature, so that's good. As I say, I clicked onto manual just to get the water up to the strike temperature. So the program's all programmed into the controller. I might show you some screenshots of that. I'll work out how to do that on the video. Grain bills in the malt pipe. I'm doing a clone of Beavertown neck oil. It's 8 kilograms of Marisota, half a kilogram of Carapils dextrin, mashing for 60 minutes at 64.4. The recipe said to add 30 litres. I've actually got 25 in the BrewDevil at the moment, but obviously I've got the HLTs up to temperature. It's certainly up to the strike temperature. It's up to the mashing temperature, so I can always pump a bit of extra liquid over if I need it. So I was just going to err on the sort of just see where 25 got me to, and then add a bit more as I go. I can always drop the sparging arm in the top and sparge it in if I want to. Probably just pump it straight in. Then I'm not going to read the hop bill because it's quite a complicated hop bill, but effectively there are no 60-minute bittering hops. It's all the hops are added 15 minutes from the end of the boil, so it's very low in IBUs but very high in sort of alpha acids, or should we say those aroma oils. So it's going to it should be quite a very hop forward beer. It's got a lot of hops in the dry hop as well, so I mean I love the beer to drink as a session IPA, so I thought I'd take a crack at it. I'll list my program steps, but effectively 6 steps: a 1 minute, a 60 minute, a 1 minute, a 10 minute, a 1 minute, a 60 minute boil, and then the 15 minute and steep hop additions. So I'll put those as a screenshot in the video. So I think that's it for now. You know, obviously use the cap when doughing in. I'm doughing in dry, and I'm going to winch the grain in using the basket, so I might have to wiggle the unit to get it in quite the right spot. I'm hoping I'm in the right place. I've got the pump running at the moment just to keep the temperature as even as I can throughout the unit. So yeah, I think that's me. I think I'm ready to go. Let's get started. So first things first, I'm going to go to the recipe and press start. Should come up to 69 pretty quickly. Going to turn the pump off and remove the recirculation arm, obviously, so I can get the basket in. Now comes that question, what have I done with the handle? Handle. just letting it sink in under its own weight. Suddenly this pump started leaking on one of the fittings, that's helpful. So I've just got the pump on, pumping a bit of liquid through the top of the grain bill, just letting basically that will just hopefully let the grain bill, the malt basket just sink into the unit now. As you can see, it's slowly going that way, which is good, which is what I want. Okay, we have touchdown. Over the top of the overflow, so I'm just going to back that off. Some shots in a second. Scratching around trying to find that. That's the length of hose for just getting the malt down onto the top mesh a little bit more gracefully. So we'll get that on and in place. Remove the top plate and just give the mash, if I can, a little stir. Doing in cap back on, grain going down into the bottom. Okay, so made a bit of a mess, but that's to be expected. So I had a few dough balls in there. Obviously I dropped it into the unit. Normally that works pretty well, but I think I'm gonna, given how high this has come up based on that grain bill, I think I'll have to seriously revise my sort of calculations for the different malt pipes. I ended up taking off the fitting and putting the short one on as well. It's just, otherwise the grain just seemed too tightly packed. Once it started to expand a bit and a little bit of liquid got on there, I wasn't comfortable. By the time I'd then given it a good stir to get all the dough balls out, obviously it sort of expanded again. So I think, err on the side of caution. Probably it's going to increase in size by at least, I'd say, a quarter once the liquid gets into it, or even maybe a third. So but thankfully I managed to swap that out without too much hassle. That's on there now. Got the short pipe on the top too. It's in recirculation. I'm actually going to stop and restart at the 60-minute mash now, which actually is a nice feature of this unit. Obviously you can just advance the second stage, press start and start mashing. Okay, to stage 2, there we go, 64. So I'm a little bit high at the moment. Clearly it came down quite, the differential in the grain, the calculation must have been slightly out. I'm at about 65 now, and I want to be at 65.7, and I want to be at 64.4. So I'm just going to put the pump on full, get that recirculating nicely. That should cool the liquid down as it's passing through the grain bed, etc. So that should drop the temperature quite quickly, hopefully. Keep the lid off for now until I get to the temperature I want to be at. Normally I prefer to come up rather than down. That's just my personal preference. Yeah, temperature's dropping nicely now, the pump's on full whack. I'm just being careful not to starve the bottom of the unit. I don't want to have a problem there. So I'm at 65, so I'm only 0.6 of a degree from where I want to be now. 59 minutes on the mash, so that's good. Shut pump off. I think I'll get it set up now, put the top screen on, and then get the hose back on the recirc arm and get the recirc going at a sort of slow, steady rate. Hopefully the hose will go through the lid. Let's see how good my dexterity is. There we go. Fantastic. Foiled by the where it expands, where it goes on the pipe. Try to catch the hose on one of the pillar handles so it sits closer to the centre, and there we go. 57 minutes on the mash, looking good. Yeah, looks like 25 litres was about the right amount. The unit's back into heating now. It dropped to 63.5, so it's coming back up now, 63.7, so it's about half a degree from where it needs to be at the moment. I'll keep monitoring that as we go. So I've got 60 minutes. It's time to rehydrate the yeast, find a Werflock tablet and a pot to put it in, and I'll rehydrate that a little bit closer to the time. Grab the weighing scales to measure up the hop bill because that's quite large, so I want a bit of extra time to do that. So yeah, so far so good. It's showing about 5 litres in the unit at the moment at the bottom, so I may potentially top that up a little bit because that's a reasonably small amount of liquid to actually have. Okay, so it's holding steady now at about, oh, what's that? That's 10, so it's probably about, it's holding steady at about 8 litres in the bottom of the unit there. Just up the recirc slightly. I mean, that's another great reason for having the sight glass actually. You know, you can, otherwise I could potentially not know that the bottom of the unit was starving, so yeah, I think I probably will add a little bit more liquid. Just going to pump some over now, or I might just scoop some into a container and put it over. Hopefully that will improve the amount of liquid in the bottom of the unit. Being around, I mean, what's that? That's probably about 8 there where that red band is, if you can see it. That, you know, that's the bottom of the malt pipe. So is there a benefit for having it in the malt pipe? Or more liquid in there? Yeah, I think there probably is. There's certainly liquid on the top of the unit, so in terms of draining through the grain, it's going through reasonably slowly. I could probably slow that down a little bit actually. I can see I'm going to be standing here for about half an hour just tweaking this to get the flow rate right. Probably a good argument just to add a little bit more liquid. going to add another 5 litres. That will take me to the 30 that was suggested. We'll see what that looks like. Just going to get a bit of cold water to add in there because that's obviously at the sparge temperature. Plus 5 litres. 51 minutes left on the mash, 65.6, that's the temperature reading in the unit, and then 64.4 is the mashing temperature at 1. Yeah, so broadly it's within about a degree to half a degree so far. I've not seen any major overruns, which is good. Yeah, just letting some of the liquid drain back through now. I just kind of gave it a squirt to sort of fill up the top, suck in any bits of grain that might have dropped back down the malt pipes. Just stuck it on full power for a minute. That should be caught on the top of the grain bed then. Yeah. So far pretty happy. It's always a little bit of a learning curve. You always forget to do something like put the hop filter on it. So I may get a pair of long tongs and see how unsuccessfully I might be able to get that in the hole. Who knows, I might get lucky. Otherwise what I might end up doing is just siphoning it from the unit. That means I can actually then control the not taking stuff out of the bottom, so that's also an option given I've missed that piece out of the unit. But this is what real brewing's like. I'm not going to give you that kind of glossy Instagram, my life is great. My life is as many cock-ups as anybody else's. So got a decent amount of liquid now back in the bottom of the unit. We're up to 15 litres in the bottom of the unit. It's at 64.4. I want to be at 64.4, so looking good. Pump's back on now, and I'll get a little bit of recirculation going in the top. It's just hard to tell exactly how much liquid's coming through without scooping the hose out and having a look at it. Oh yeah, happy with that. I don't know if you can see that, but that's as long as that maintains, doesn't starve the bottom of the unit, which is looking good. It's probably going down a little bit. It doesn't seem to be overly filling on the top. I might just back it up a little bit. There's a decent amount to keep recirculating through, so I'll try and keep it steady. Actually, that's coming back up. Well, certainly with the extra liquid in, it's forcing the liquid through, I guess, more effectively. It's just finding that right balance of keeping the liquid reasonably steady and providing the right amount to the top of the grain bed. Again, I don't want to pump it dry and be going over the overflow. So it dropped to 63.9 there, which is obviously 0.4 of a degree. It's clicked on at 500 watts. Let's have a little bit of a look, see how quick it bounces back. So it dropped to 8 and then bounced back up to 9 quite quickly there. It's wobbling 63.8, 63.9. Remember, I've only got the element on at 500 watts. I don't want to go crazy. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if it's in a degree of where I want to be, that's pretty good. So just to add, I've just added, again, slightly late, but nevertheless, DWB as one of my additions. The other addition that I made was, I think, CRS, wasn't it? CRS 0.64 per litre, and that's based on my water chemistry. There's loads of great videos out there around how to set your water chemistry for particular beer styles. That's just the additions for 25 litres that I do. I'll do another 21 grams of that into the boil to account for the full 50 litres. I guess it's something I started doing after visiting a local brewing course at a local homebrew store. It's one of those things, I guess, it's diminishing returns, right? You can make an 80% great beer by just making beer and doing nothing, and then just trying to close down that last 20% to make an excellent beer is tiny little percentage increases, which I think these are the things that help. So certainly something worth checking out if you haven't done some reading around water chemistry, and there must be some good vids out there as well. I use Brew packs, Murphy and Sons editions, and there's some good guides on how to test your own water using saltwater tank kits to do some of your calculations. So yeah, things are going well. Pretty happy with how the pump's now set up. It's pretty stable at that amount. We're 34 minutes remaining. It's been really good. It's settled more and more as the time's gone by, as I've got the recirc right, and I'm now into sort of, I would say, half a degree to 0.8 of a degree variation when heating up. 500 watts on 30 litres on the 50 litre BrewDevil for mashing seems to be pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that, so I think that's going to be my go-to for the moment. Yeah, that's all for now. Hi there. So just getting ready. Just got my Irish Moss Werflock tablets. I think I'm going to go with Werflock tablets this time. I've just done a iodine test on the water that's coming round, and it's looking good. And that's 18 minutes left. So I'm showing none of the unexpected colours in the iodine. So that looks good. Looks like we're getting good extraction. So yeah, just about to pre-soak those Werflock tablets, and then I'll probably start measuring out the first set of hop additions. There's so much hops in this. I'm probably going to find a large bucket and just keep emptying them into a bucket as I weigh them out. And I may even use 2 hop spiders, one for the leaf and one for the pellets, just to try and, you know, the last thing I want to do is for the pellets to get very sort of to block the very fine mesh up on the cone shape one. So this is definitely, I think, better for pellets, but I think the combination of flowers and pellets in there with the amount of hops I'm doing, it might clog it up. So what I'm probably going to do is split the batch between 2. Lucky enough to have another one that I had from a previous system I built, so I'll put the flowers in that one because it's coarser, and the pellets in that one. So yeah, all going okay so far. Nothing majorly unexpected. Couple of little errors. I didn't put my DWB addition in until the mash had started. I could probably let that one go. I forgot to put the filter for the inlet filter for the pump on. So I'm going to have a little think about how I get the water into the fermenters. It may be like a partial siphon until I can see it, and then I can maybe put it in and then pump the last bit out with the extra bit of pipe I've put on, rubber pipe to lift it up to create a bit more dead space. So yeah, we'll see. Top tip so far: don't video your first brew day on a new brewing system. It's warts and all. I feel like I'm rushing around a lot because I'm videoing and thinking about what I'm doing there, and then I'm also trying to look at the unit. What's the unit doing? Is it doing what I expect it to? Do I think that's an issue? And then kind of scratching my head as I go. So it's quite a challenge. I didn't expect it to be so much juggling. I think if I turned the camera off, I'd be sat on a chair just here with my feet up, probably watching something on the internet. So yeah, first top tip. I think the other top tip is the sight glass. It's been brilliant. It's been great to know what's in the bottom of the unit. There was a point in it where I was actually, I think, starving the bottom of the unit. So not to the point where it was, you could hear it sucking in the pump, but it was good to know, so I added a bit more liquid, and things seem to be really nicely stable. I don't know if you can see there, but the water is lovely and clear. You know, certainly from a mashing perspective, you're not going to see it crystal clear, but it's really nice to be able to see through it. You can get an early indication of what the colour's going to be, so which is exactly what that's definitely the colour I'm looking for. So yeah, all good. Happy so far. I'll keep you posted. More to come. Cheers. So I've just checked my mash pH, and that's at 5.3. I can get this up high enough so you can see it. So I'm really happy with how the pH came out. Yeah, it could be 5.2, but 5.3 is a significant improvement over doing nothing. So super happy with that. Yeah, we've got down on the controller. Hopefully you can see that. Let's turn the brightness down. There we go. Hopefully you can see the controller there. I've got 4 minutes left on the mash, sitting at 64.8, 64.4 is my target. Yep, so better get busy because I'm going to be mashing out in a minute. So yeah, so far so good. I've set up the sparging arm. That's just going to come up a pump. Sorry, that's a bit cack-handed. Let me do that better so you can see. That sits on the top of the malt pipe, and obviously I pump that the sparging, pump the sparging liquid in rather than do batch sparging, and it's heated. You should see here target temperature is 65.6 or 65.7. Current temperature is 65.6, so it's just resting at the moment. It's got no power running through it, so you can see there's the power, and over on the other side we've got the power on the that's on the BrewDevil itself. So it's literally just got the pump and the PCB on at the moment, so it's drawing 8.3 watts. When the heater clicks on, which it won't for a while, you'll see that shoot up. It's interesting to see what it's drawing and understand. This box does have a PID on it, but it's turned all the way up. I used to use this controlling element. It's turned all the way up to 240 volts, and it also has a cooling fan in here pumping cool air through the unit to keep it cool. So yeah, that's helpful as well. But yeah, things are going well. Got a nice little circulation going on the top here, which is pretty cool. Water's clearing up nicely. Yeah, okay. Getting 2 minutes to mash out, so I'm going to stop the video and go and focus on that. Hi there, so here's the Boil Edition hops, Centennial, Amarillo, Columbus and Galaxy, 30 Centennial, 20 Amarillo, Columbus and Galaxy pellets. These smell amazing. Actually, I've never used the Galaxy before, and I'd certainly consider getting as close to a single hop IPA as I can on that. That is just a fantastic smell from those Australian hops, or are they New Zealand? I can't remember, I'll have to double check. But yeah, they smell amazing. So ready to go on the 15-minute edition of hops. Worthlock tablets have been soaked. I live very near an airport, clearly. Thankfully it's only light aircraft. Worthlock tablet soaking. We're into mash out now. Temperature's coming up. It's already 73.5. Target mash out temperature is 76. So that's looking good. Recirculation's still going nicely. Got a nice happy medium going here. So yeah, pretty happy so far. We're going to mash out, raise it for 1 minute, mash out for 10, and then I'll be obviously lifting the unit and then going into the boil. So, sorry, sparging and then going into the boil. So, yeah, all good, cool. Hi there. So we finished the mash out. So I paused it while I sparged because it clicked on, obviously, to automatically the next stage to start heating towards the boil. So I just hit the auto pause button to pause it during the sparge. So I've used the block and tackle to lift it to the halfway feet. I can hear it draining out, so that clearly is enough for the moment. I've got, let me see if I can show you this. So I've got the sparge arm set up like so. Hopefully you can see that. That should just that'll just be pumped from, obviously, over from the hot liquor tun, and I'll set the flow up so it's sort of nice and slow, slow sort of trickle. But I think I'm going to let the grain bed drain for the most part. I may even consider removing the top screen and sparging directly onto the top of the grain. I may not bother, we'll see how it goes. But so far pretty happy with the setup, pretty happy how it's worked. Tiny little boo-boo. The pump is so quiet on this, I forgot it was on, and I took the recirc arm off with it still going very slowly, so I've got a little bit of sugary wart that I'll have to clear up later. Hopefully you can see just how lovely and clear that water is. There's a few particles floating in there, there's a little bit of grain, etc. Hopefully those will get pulled out during the sparging process. But yeah, I'm really pleased with the colour of the grain. So I'll get it to focus a bit better. Yeah, so onwards and upwards, we will be sparging for potentially quite a while. I don't like to rush sparging. Yeah, I'll come back to you when we get to the next step. Cheers. So we've begun sparging. I've had to put that little black cap on the top because I was concerned about there was a little bit of water running out the centre and going straight down the recirc pipe, and it was a bit too late to kind of screw the cap on, but I think I might screw the cap on the doughing in cap. But yeah, you can see we've got a really nice kind of sparge going on. Going to sparge super slow. Just watching the volume come up till we get to the recommended boil volume. The sparge water is 75.4. Currently that's warming back up. I think it's 70, just checking, 75.6 is the target temperature for the sparge water. So yeah, I'm just going to let that slowly sparge till I get up to my boil volume, which is 45. The boil volume for the recipe is actually 52, but I'm going to boil at 40, start boiling at 45, and I will just do a top up either during the boil or after the boil to the final volume. I don't want to boil in the unit at 51 or 50, so I'll start at lower, add less water, and then just keep topping it up during the boil or at the end before it goes into the fermenter. Hopefully that makes sense. Yep, things progressing well. I may lift the malt pipe up a little bit higher shortly when I think that I've got to the bottom of the malt pipe. Okay, cheers. Hi there, we're back. Pulled the malt pipe up. Block and tackle is super great. I mean, this made such a difference. I would have definitely been on a step ladder trying to pull that malt pipe up, so I could literally pull it up one-handed. So if you can set one of those up, I'd definitely recommend having a look at that. So I stopped sparging. So I stopped the sparge when the sight glass had reached 42.5, and actually that was a really good guess, because I'm not sure if you can see that. That's literally stopped just over 45 litres. So I think the argument is on an 8 kilogram grain bill, when you turn the sparge off, you've probably got 2.5 litres of water still in the grain. Still dripping out a little bit, but just broadly, that's probably what's in there, so you know when to kind of back off. So I guess a little lesson learned is probably I would have gone, maybe done it slightly different, hoisted the basket all the way up, set the sparge going and put it straight onto boil. It's up to 3000 watts on. It's still coming up. It's only at 80 degrees now, so it's going to take a little while to come up the last 20 degrees. So I think I'd carry on. That's one thing I definitely do differently, is I'd probably pause it, pull the malt basket up, set the sparge and stuff up. As soon as the sparge is going, I would then bring it back on to bring it up to boil. So that's a sort of little lesson learned. Other than that, everything's going as expected. I'm going to test the well, I'm going to let the malt pipe sit there for a little while longer, I think, and let just everything that can drain out the grain now. I'll pack the sparging stuff up, and I've got to heat up about, obviously, another, I reckon probably another 7 or 8 litres, something like that, I think I might need for a sort of top up at the end after the boil. Trying to think if there's anything else worth mentioning at this point. No, I don't think so. Really like the setup, it's super easy, you know, especially with having an HLT and being able to sparge like that, you can literally just kind of walk away and let it do its thing over time. Yeah, pretty good really, other than the camera going dead and me having to recharge that, all is well. Okay, alright, speak to you in a bit. Hi there, so I've just tested my specific gravity, pre-boil specific gravity. The recipe says it should be 1.036, and that is on 52 litres pre-boil volume. Mine is running at, what is it, 1.045, but obviously I'm only 2.5 litres off the 50. The malt pipe's continuing to drip, so that's, I guess, clean water coming out of there, cleanish water now coming out of there, so it's continuing to top the boil kettle up, and so that's going to lower the specific gravity, but actually I'm only 2.5 litres off my, well no, I'm not actually, am I? I'm 4.5 litres off my boil volume, 4.5? Yeah, 4.5 litres off my boil volume, and I'm at 1.045 rather than 1.036. So actually, I think if it was topped up, I'd be very close to my numbers. I might have to have a think about doing some kind of calculation to work out how I could work out how many specific gravity points per litre I've got, and then I can factor that for the 1.05 and work out if they're the same. So I might go and do that now. I'm still waiting for it to come up for temperature. Definitely top tip. As soon as you got your grain basket up and your sparging, just go straight to boil. I go straight to that boil step. So something else I have noted is that actually despite what it says on the front of the unit, so if you're say mashing at 500, for instance, 500 watts, it'll only be 500 watts when it's within 1 degree band of the temperature that it wants to be. So if it's much lower, actually the BrewDevil's a little bit smarter than I probably gave it credit. So if it's much lower, it's actually going to use a higher wattage to get itself up quicker, and then it stages the wattage down as it approaches the temperature it wants to be at. So that's actually quite clever. And then the only reason I realised that is happening because that isn't represented on the front of the unit. It's just showing you what the maximum wattage it will consume is. That actually you can see here. I don't know if you can see there, but take my word for it. It's actually drawing 3,500 watts. 3562 watts at the moment, but it only says 3,000 on the front of the unit, so actually it's drawing a little bit more wattage wise. Mind you, it's taking the average volts as 230, so it may account for the difference, but I've definitely noted that even on like 2,500 it will use full 3,000 watts when it's trying to get close to the temperature, and then it will bring down the power as it approaches the temperature. So got the whirlpool arm in, just making sure that everything's nicely mixed. It's whirlpooling really nicely actually, just coming up to the boil, so I'll probably shut the pump down in a minute, get the lid on. Yeah, so everything's going okay. I keep saying that, waiting for something to go wrong, aren't I? So yeah, all good. Okay, speak to you in a bit. Okay, so I did the specific gravity calculation based on gravity points per litre, and actually it's bang on. So I literally have hit my number, so 1.045 is exactly the right specific gravity for what is currently 48 litres. Yeah, I couldn't be happier with that. That's literally so bang on the numbers. So, you know, thumbs up to whoever did the Beersmith profile. that's pretty much bang on. Coupled with Beersmith as a program, that I've literally nailed my number there, so I'm super happy about that. Just thought I'd add that in. All I did was divide out the amount of gravity points for the amount of litres that the recipe suggested, and then use that factor to multiply up based on the number of litres I had, and that gave me exactly the specific gravity reading I got. So yeah, couldn't be happy with that. Okay, so I'm going to get the malt pipe out now. I think it's kind of diminishing returns now, and I want to kind of get the lid on. You know, it's coming up to temperature quite slowly, so I think it's going to be useful to get the lid on, and hopefully that will help. I've just gone straight into a bucket. I may need a slightly bigger bucket because of the feet stops it sliding down right inside the bucket, but I might have to have a think about a better way of doing that. And I always find you just got to hold on to the end of the block and tackle, because it needs some weight on there to keep everything compass momentum. But this will slide all the way if I need to. So something I did notice about this fitting on the bottom of the lid, I don't know if you can see that particularly well, but it's sort of tarnished quite quickly, first brew really, and I can see a little bit of rust on it as well, so I'm going to have to give that a good clean and have a think about maybe replacing that with something. But yeah, bit of a weird one. Wasn't expecting that. It's fine on the top, it just seems the bottom fitting has sort of gone black and is going rusty in a couple of places already. I'll keep an eye on that. Might just sandpaper the rust off and maybe paint it or something. Okay, so we're into the boil now. Had a few sort of, I kind of had to pause it because I got a bit of, despite not adding any hops at 60 minutes, I got a bit of a hop break, and I obviously started to foam, or it started to foam and boil over. I'm assuming that's a hop break. I always thought of that as a hop break. Maybe I'm wrong, somebody correct me. So it's a really sort of gentle rolling boil. That's 48 litres at 1900 watts, 54 minutes to go on the boil. So yeah, it's actually settled into a lot more calm brew day as I've got more and more confident with the unit and what it's doing and just letting it do its thing. I'll have to go back and read the instructions, because something I noted is it seemed to pause at the boil step, so it didn't automatically click into the boil step. That actually makes a lot of sense to me, because hot breaks, right? So yeah, I'll double check the manual and make sure that that's right. I'm sure it is. Again, I've been sort of noting the wattage being consumed. Despite it being a 1900 at the moment, it's only consuming 4600. So, and it seems to sort of click itself up and down in stages, and you may have noticed the unit makes sort of clicking sounds, like you can hear the relays flicking on and off, and that is absolutely dropping the power off, bringing the power up. And as you can see, look now, as it's just I guess detected a little bit of roll off of temperature, it's spiked the wattage up to it was above, I think it was 3500 then, and look now it's dropping back to 4600 again. So it's kind of doing some, despite it being at, saying at 1900 on the actual controller, it's doing some little sort of clever things to sort of play with the temperature and I guess to stop overruns or to heat it up quickly, bring it and not overrun it. So yeah, so that I wouldn't have even known that if I didn't have a voltmeter with a monitoring the amps, watts and voltage on it. So yeah, all going pretty well. So now it's just I've got what 40 odd minutes until the Wurflop tablet and the first edition, or so the boil edition hops go in, and then everything else is steeping hops. So and I'll have 15 minutes to get those ready. The yeast is currently rehydrating. I'm using an American yeast. Which one am I using? I'll just tell you. I'm using Sulfate American US 05, which is obviously a typical IPA style yeast. Cool. All right, I'll publish the full recipe, of course. I'll either put a screenshot of it in, or I might link it with the I'll link the article in the Facebook group, and I'll link the full recipe there as well. Okay, onwards and upwards. Cheers. Hi there, just a quick update. So the boil's finished. 15-minute Worthlock tablet hops, and the steeping hops went in. The only thing I'd say is the grain, the hop bill is absolutely huge. I definitely had to use two hop baskets, because it was just it was too much for that one. It's a massive hop bill. It's a really hoppy IPA, so that was kind of to be expected. But other than that, you know, Kyle's got in. It's cooling now. We're already down to 73, 72.8. So it's dropping really nicely. Kyle's doing its job. Catching the water outside. I've made a complete mess everywhere in the last, there's quite a lot to do in the last few minutes of this brew. Stuff from Angel Homebrewing, fantastic. It's my whole cutter that I said I was ordering. So yeah, I'm probably for the most part I'm going to stop the video here, because this is the kind of complicated bit. I've got to get it down quickly. I've got to get my fermenting box open, respray all the stuff in Star San, etc. for the cold side. So that's going to be quite busy getting that over there. What I'll do is just do kind of a summary at the end. Anyway, yeah, good brew day, gone pretty well. It's 1 o'clock, so I've got cool down and clear up to do. So hopefully I should be done by around 2 o'clock. So that's good. It's been a pretty lazy day because I've been distracted with the camera and things like that. I probably could have been a lot more organised, got little bits extra done, but there you are. That's what it is. So all good.